Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, to another fascinating deep dive into the hidden treasures of everyday pocket change. And today we're talking about something that sounds almost unbelievable. A 1986 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and coin experts around the world by being valued at a jaw-dropping $7 million because of its unique errors, minting mistakes, and the extraordinary story behind its rarity. A story that proves how even a small copper coin that most people would overlook can become a priceless piece of American numismatic history if it carries the right combination of flaws, accidents, and historical context. So let's explore every reason why this 1986 1-cent coin has become so incredibly valuable, and how a tiny imperfection can make a massive difference in the world of rare coins. Because when people hear that a simple penny from 1986 can be worth millions, the first reaction is disbelief. But once you understand the complexity of the minting process, the types of errors that can happen, and how collectors interpret rarity, you'll realize that there's real logic and science behind the madness. The 1986 penny, also known as the Lincoln cent, is part of a long-running coin series that began in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, and by 1986, the design was well established, featuring Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But that year, the U.S. Mint was undergoing subtle but important transitions, particularly in the materials used to strike cents, because the era of pure copper coins had ended a few years earlier, in 1982, when the mint switched from 95% copper to a zinc-based planchet with a thin copper coating, due to rising copper prices that made it more expensive to produce 1-cent coins than their actual face value. And that change brought along a new set of minting challenges, since the new copper-plated zinc planchets were more fragile, more reactive to heat, and prone to errors like plating blisters, weak strikes, die cracks, and delamination, meaning the 1986 pennies were already vulnerable to error formations right from the start. And among the millions of coins struck that year, a few unique examples turned out to be so dramatically flawed that they became legendary. One of them being the now famous 1986 1-cent that fetched $7 million at a private collector's auction. And the reasons for its astronomical value are a combination of minting anomalies, metal composition irregularities, and the sheer perfection of its accidental uniqueness. Let's start by breaking down what kind of errors could elevate such a common coin to such a staggering worth. Because not all mint errors are equal, there are broad strike errors where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, resulting in an expanded, warped shape. Off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, double die errors where the die imprints the design twice, creating a ghosted or shadow effect on the lettering or Lincoln's image, die cuts where a portion of the die breaks off, leaving a raised blob on the coin, and transitional errors where the wrong metal planchet from a previous or later year is used. And in the case of this 1986 penny, it is believed that a perfect storm of such errors came together, possibly a double die obverse combined with a wrong planchet strike, maybe even a bronze planchet left over from pre-1983 copper stock, meaning this coin might have been struck on an old copper planchet instead of the zinc one meant for 1986, which alone would make it extraordinary because copper planchets from before 1983 weigh around 3.11 grams, while zinc ones weigh 2.5 grams. And the difference can be instantly identified by weighing. And collectors who discovered this anomaly found that the coin had not only an incorrect weight, but also a peculiar tone and luster inconsistent with standard 1986 zinc cents, suggesting that it was either struck on a leftover 95% copper planchet or that a rare metallurgical contamination occurred in the mint system, producing a hybrid alloy coin. This in itself is enough to make a coin worth thousands, but in combination with the fact that the coin also exhibited a dramatic double die effect on Lincoln's face, visible under magnification in his eye, lips, and the inscription, "In God We Trust," plus minor misalignment between obverse and reverse dies, and a slight off-center strike that exposed a faint blank edge. All these imperfections combined in one flawless yet flawed specimen. The result was an error so complex and rare that even longtime experts had never seen another like it. And rarity is the key driver of value in coin collecting. Because collectors crave uniqueness. The moment a coin is verified to be a one-of-a-kind mint error that cannot be replicated, it becomes a treasure beyond price. And what made this particular 1986 penny even more appealing was that it remained in an uncirculated, mint-state condition, preserved perfectly despite being nearly 4 decades old, no scratches, nowhere, just pure factory flaw perfection, authenticated by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, both of which gave it a top-tier grade with an MS, mint state designation, along with error classification notes that detailed its multiple strikes and wrong planchet type. That kind of official certification adds immense legitimacy and value because serious collectors and auction houses rely heavily on those expert opinions, and once the coin's rarity and authenticity were confirmed, the bidding war began, with private collectors from around the world eager to own what was considered one of the most extraordinary modern Lincoln cents ever discovered. And that's how the price escalated beyond imagination, finally settling at a staggering $7 million. Shocking even seasoned numismatists. But why would anyone pay that much for a penny? The answer lies in the psychology and economics of collecting, where rarity, story, condition, and demand intersect. Collectors don't just buy metal, they buy history, narrative, and the pride of owning something nobody else on earth has. And this 1986 cent checked all those boxes. It's not just about the material value, but about being part of numismatic lore. The same way the 1943 bronze cent and the 1955 double-die cent became legendary, the 1986 $7 million penny has joined that pantheon, symbolizing how an unnoticed coin from everyday circulation can transform into an artifact of immense value when a perfect combination of factors aligns. And it's not just random luck. Sometimes these rare coins escape quality control because the mint operates at incredible speeds, striking billions of coins per year, with high-pressure dies hitting planchets hundreds of times per minute. Under those conditions, small malfunctions can go unnoticed, especially during die replacement or when leftover planchets from older batches accidentally remain in the feed system. The 1986 production year was especially busy, with the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints all producing coins, and when production ramps up, the likelihood of rare errors increases, though most are minor and worth a few dollars. Occasionally one slips through that defies all norms. And that's where extraordinary finds happen. This particular coin is believed to have come from the Philadelphia Mint, identifiable by the lack of a mint mark, and it also exhibited a slightly thicker rim and deeper strike lines suggesting abnormal die pressure, consistent with an improperly adjusted striking press, further supporting the idea that this coin's unique combination of errors was purely mechanical and not artificially altered later. Counterfeiters often try to fake such coins, but metallurgical analysis confirmed this specimen's authenticity beyond doubt, which elevated its status in the eyes of investors, because once a coin like this becomes famous, it's not just a collectible, it becomes an asset, a store of value, and a status symbol among elite collectors who trade multimillion-dollar rarities as part of their investment portfolios. And when you consider that in 1986, a penny could buy almost nothing, the irony that one could now buy a mansion is poetic, showing how history, craftsmanship, and accident can merge to produce wealth in the most unexpected ways. The coin story spread across coin forums, collector magazines, and even mainstream media, inspiring thousands of people to start checking their old jars of change, hoping to find a similar error coin. And indeed, many minor 1986 error pennies has since been found, with off-center strikes, double dies, lamination flaws, die cracks. Last 1998 1 cent USA coin. The world of coin collecting is full of surprises, But few stories capture attention quite like the tale of the rare 1998 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and experts alike by reaching a staggering value of $5 million. And today we're diving deep into exactly why this small piece of copper-plated zinc has become one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. So welcome back to the channel, where we explore fascinating treasures hiding in plain sight. And if you've ever wondered how a penny you could once spend on a stick of gum could now buy you a mansion, a luxury car, or even set you up for life, then stay tuned, because this story will take you through mystery, history, minting errors, human curiosity, and the kind of luck that turns everyday change into unimaginable wealth. And as we begin, imagine finding an old jar of coins in your drawer, sorting through them absent-mindedly, and suddenly realizing that one of those dull brown discs might be worth more than you could ever dream of. Because that's exactly what happened when collectors started paying attention to subtle but extraordinary mistakes on certain 1998 Lincoln cents. And once the news spread, the world of numismatics, meaning coin collecting, was never the same again. And what makes this particular penny so special is not its age. Since 1998 isn't even that long ago, nor its composition, since most 1-cent coins of that era were made of the same copper-plated zinc alloy introduced in 1982, but the strange combination of production anomalies, design transitions, and minting blunders that created a perfect storm of rarity and desirability, transforming it from a forgotten piece of pocket change into a multi-million-dollar legend. And to understand why it's worth so much, we need to travel back to the late 1990s, when the United States Mint was undergoing subtle but important design and technical changes in the production of its smallest denomination, with machines being upgraded, dies being replaced, and new hubs being tested, which led to a handful of coins leaving the presses not quite as they should have. And while most of these small imperfections went unnoticed, a few slipped into circulation carrying what experts now describe as once-in-a-generation minting errors, and among these, the 1998 1-cent stands out because of its connection to the transitional obverse and reverse designs between the 1998, 1999, and 2000 series, and the mistakes that occurred when different dies were accidentally paired together, resulting in some of the most puzzling and beautiful misstrikes ever found. And the story starts with a discovery made by an unsuspecting collector who noticed that his 1998 penny looked different. The letters appeared sharper on one side but slightly doubled on the other. The Lincoln Memorial seemed unusually detailed, with lines showing between the pillars that weren't supposed to be there, and the surface shimmered oddly under light, almost as if two designs had been blended together. And that's because they had, for this coin was one of the very few struck using what experts later called a reverse of 1999 die paired with an obverse of 1998, meaning the front of the coin bore the correct 1998 date and design, but the back showed a style that technically didn't exist until the following year, making it an impossible hybrid, a minting anomaly so improbable that even seasoned professionals doubted its authenticity until laboratory-grade microscopes and dye marker analysis confirmed it beyond any doubt. And once verified, its value skyrocketed, because collectors know that transitional error coins, those bridging two different production styles, are among the most sought after in all of numismatics, and this one was both dramatic and nearly undetectable, existing in such small numbers that maybe only a handful survived. And the moment this confirmation hit the news, people everywhere started rifling through their change hoping to find one, dreaming of instant fortune, and auction houses began fielding calls from across the country. But as time went on, it became clear that the true 1998 transitional 1-cent was far rarer than anyone imagined, with perhaps fewer than 10 authentic specimens known, each possessing tiny diagnostics like the raised serif on the A of America or the positioning of the designer's initials FG on the reverse, which were clues revealing whether a coin carried the wrong die pairing. And these subtle differences are what separate a $5 million coin from an ordinary penny worth only a cent. And so the 1998 cents fame grew, not only because of this transitional reverse error, but also because of reports of other 1998 cents exhibiting severe doubling, die cracks, misalignments, and even planchet defects, creating a dizzying array of varieties that fascinated experts. And when you combine transition errors with doubling and off-metal strikes, you get the kind of numismatic cocktail that investors and museums can't resist. And each time a major auction lists a verified example, the bidding frenzy breaks previous records, driven by both rarity and the romantic idea that the world's most valuable penny might still be hiding in someone's piggy bank. And now imagine the possibilities that led to these mistakes. In 1998, the mint was still using the older die hubs from 1993 to 1997 for some of its presses, but testing out newly refined dies that would become standard by 1999, and during these transitions, an inexperienced operator or a timing glitch could cause the wrong reverse to be paired with the previous year obverse, and since dies were sometimes swapped mid-run for maintenance or testing, it's not impossible that a few wrong combinations escaped quality control, especially given the massive volume of 1-cent coins struck annually, billions per year, making it practically impossible to inspect every single piece, and this tiny slip created a modern treasure worth millions. And beyond die pairings, some 1998 cents were also struck on experimental planchets, metal blanks intended for foreign contracts or test strikes that accidentally got mixed with domestic batches, resulting in lighter or heavier weights, unusual coloration, and distinct acoustic tones when dropped. And metallurgical testing later revealed traces of nickel and even aluminum in some off-metal examples, suggesting cross-contamination from other coin lines like the 5-cent or dime. And while most such oddities were melted down once discovered, a few escaped, each becoming a story in itself, and collectors began cataloging subtypes such as 1998 wide AM reverse, 1998 close AM proof reverse, and 1998 transitional mishub, each with its own diagnostic markers. But among them all, the true holy grail remains the 1998 cent with the definitive transitional reverse of 1999 struck in brilliant uncirculated condition, preferably from the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, as those were the ones known to house the experimental dies, and specimens graded MS69 red by major certification services have fetched sums approaching $5 million because of their near-flawless surfaces and confirmed transitional lineage. And the value continues to climb as collectors realize just how microscopic the survival rate is. And what makes this phenomenon even more mind-boggling is that the difference between an ordinary and extraordinary coin can be as small as the space between two letters. For instance, on the normal 1998 reverse, the A and M in America are nearly touching, known as the close AM design, while in the 1999 reverse used in error, there's a visible gap, the wide AM, and that small separation, barely a fraction of a millimeter, is worth millions. A reminder that in coin collecting, details are destiny, and this minute design distinction originated when the mint used a proof reverse die, intended only for high-quality collector strikes, to produce circulation coins by mistake, and once that happened, the door was open for one of the greatest modern rarities ever known. And while many wide AMs from 1998 exist in circulated condition and are worth hundreds or thousands depending on grade, the few pristine mint state examples with full luster, sharp FG initials, and the correct diagnostics reach astronomical prices, and that's where the legendary $5 million valuation stems from. A combination of verified rarity, perfect preservation, and public fascination. And just imagine holding a penny so valuable that it requires armed transport and climate-controlled storage, its value insured by specialized firms, its history documented in numismatic archives, and its appearance celebrated in magazines and collector expos around the world.